2:30 in the morning, Highway 16, the pullout side of Vanderhoof, British Columbia. A trucker pulls into the gravel, the same gravel he's pulled into 100 times, and he kills his engine. The cab goes dark, in the way that a long-haul cab goes dark, diesel ticking as it cools. Cold coffee in his thermos and his daughter's school photo taped to his dash, lit faintly by the green run light. He pulls the bill of his ball cap over his eyes. He leans into his back seat. He has 15 minutes before he needs to get moving again. He's almost asleep when he hears the first knock. Not a bang, not a thud, 3 taps. Knuckle on metal. Slow, spaced out, like someone counting them. He sits up. There's nobody in this pullout. He looked when he came in. He always looks. No vehicles, no campers, no road traffic for 40 kilometers in either direction. No cell bars, no towns. There's only him, the rig, and the trees. Then the voice right at the door. The voice says, "Daddy?" A little girl, 7 years old. The pitch is just right. The word is right. Even the way the D of daddy sits on the front of it, that's right. But there's no breath behind it. There's no air. It just sounds like the right shape. The voice comes again, closer, as if the mouth has moved up against the metal. "Daddy?" it says. "Pumpkin can't sleep," it says. The daughter's asleep in a bedroom in Edmonton, Canada, 1,100 kilometers away. Pumpkin is what he calls her at her bedtime. Only at bedtime. Only inside the house. He has never said the word out here. Whatever is at his door knows it anyway. Andrew here for Permanent Underclass, where we explore the weird stuff your therapist would tell you to avoid. The, "oh cool, now I'll never sleep again" side of reality. If you're easily scared, easily offended, or easily anything, you're in the wrong place. A grown man, 12 years on the road, is what we're talking about. Alone in a gravel pullout in the middle of the night, and something he can't see is on the other side of his door, using the bedtime name only he knows for his daughter. The bedtime name that doesn't exist outside of her bedroom, and definitely not on the other side of the country. If you saw the last video, you know the shape of things. A mother in eastern Tennessee heard her 8-year-old daughter calling for her outside of a tent. The daughter was asleep right next to her. The voice used the nickname only the mother would have used at home, a bow hunter in Alberta. We covered some stories last time in a Cherokee. These are a continuation of the total of 10 stories in this series. So we're going to cover the next 3 stories in 3/4 and 3 generations. The same rule for every video. The voice is always someone you like, and that's the same rule all the time too. The voice always comes from where your person isn't. The voice always knows something that it shouldn't know. And what I told you last time, and it's always true, it just wasn't the whole truth that I told you last time. Today we have 3 more. A trucker on Highway 16, a thru-hiker on the Pacific Crest Trail, a fire lookout in the Selway-Bitterroot wilderness in Idaho. And these 3 don't break the rules. They do something worse. They expand it. It's not always someone you love. That's just how it gets to the door. The bigger rule, the one the old people knew, is this. It picks the voice you can't ignore. Whoever that is, whatever that takes. Familiarity is the door. Plausibility is the trap. 3 stories, 1 big rule. Let's go. So the trucker, I'm calling him Mike. That's not his real name. After what happened to him, he asked that his real name not be used ever, so we're honoring that. Mike drove for 12 years, owner-operator of his own rig. His own lanes, Edmonton to the BC coast and back. Highway 16 corridor 4 nights a week. Quick on Highway 16, it runs from Prince Rupert and the BC coast all the way to the prairie border. The middle stretch, Prince George, out of the Smithers, then up towards Terrence, is some of the most remote highway in North America. Hundreds of kilometers without a service station at all, without any gas stations, without a town, people who live in that town. They call this highway the Highway of Tears for a reason that is well documented, and that reason and has nothing to do with what we're talking about today. Different horror, a same road. Mike has a wife. He has a daughter named Hannah, who at the time of this story was 7 years old. Hannah doesn't sleep well. Mike does the bedtime routine when he's home. Story, glass of water, door creaked 3 inches open, hallway light on, that sort of thing. The last thing he says to her every single night is the same one word. Good night, pumpkin. Just inside her doorway so she hears him. Then he closes the door down to 3 inches and walks away. Pumpkin only exists inside that bedroom. His wife doesn't say it. Hannah's grandmother doesn't say it at all. Hannah doesn't call herself that. It's a private word between a father and his daughter at exactly one moment of the day, and it has never lived anywhere else in this world. Remember that. Mike pulls into the Vanderhoof pullout at 2:30 in the morning. He's done this 1,000 times. He has never had a problem doing it. He has never had so much as a coyote come up to the big rig. He kills the engine, the cab goes quiet. He pulls his cap down and he leans his seat back. He's got 15 minutes, like we said. Then 3 taps. He sits straight up. He listens. Pullout is gravel. Loose, coarse, noisy gravel. When you step on it, it makes a sound. You cannot walk on it without the crunching. He hears no crunching. There are no footsteps approaching the door. There's only silence and the taps and then the voice. The voice says, "Daddy." Mike said that the inside of his mouth instantly went dry, like somebody had reached in and taken all the moisture out of it. He told me his hearing got sharper, the way that it does when you wake up in a strange room and you don't remember why. He could hear the diesel fuel ticking. He could hear his own heartbeat, and he could hear his footsteps. The voice came again. "Daddy, Pumpkin can't sleep," the voice said. Now Mike does something smart. He's on a satellite phone for the dead zone. Every long haul guy, whoever runs that corridor does, they pick it up, they call his wife. It rings once. She answers, she's groggy. He asks her very calm where Hannah is, the daughter. She says Hannah's asleep. He asks her to walk down to the hall and look. She walks down the hall. Hannah, the daughter, is asleep in her bed. While his wife was walking down that hall, the voice outside the truck speaks again. It's not at the door anymore. It's in front of the rig, near the headlights. About 15 feet of gravel between the door and the headlights, and never heard a single footstep cross. "Daddy," it says, "open the door." The first call was differential. Pumpkin can't sleep. The way a kid asks for something. This one, it's not a request. This one's conversational, casual. The voice that knows you're going to do it eventually. Mike hangs up on his wife mid-sentence. He turns the key, and he puts the rig in gear, and he drives. He doesn't stop until he hits Houston, 2 hours up the road, with daylight just starting to come over the trees. He never pulls into that pullout again. He still drives Highway 16. He just doesn't sleep on it anymore. Moving south. Move to the Alpine. Forget the highway. This next story comes from a woman I'm going to call Sarah. Not her real name. She thru-hiked the Pacific Crest Trail in 2022. The PCT runs from the Mexican border through California, Oregon, Washington, all the way to the Canadian border, about 4,000 kilometers. People do it in 5 months. If they're moving fast, most people will start it and they'll never finish it. Quick on through hiker culture, because this is what is the log of the story. Everybody on the trail gets a trail name. It's not your real name, it's another name a hiker gives you, usually within the first 2 weeks of your time on the trail, based on something you did or said or a screw up that you'd made. Once you have it, that's your name. Other hikers call you that. The shelters register you as that name. The volunteers at resupply towns know you by that name. Your trail name is your hiker name. Family back home doesn't know it. People at your job back home don't know it. It only exists on that 4,000 kilometers of footpath. Sarah was hiking with a partner, guy I'm calling Marcus. Also not his real name. They met in the desert in a section in California, and they hiked together for 50 or so days. Around mile 1400, Marcus gets his shin splint bad enough that he has to bail. He gets off the trail at South Lake Tahoe and he flies home to Portland, Oregon. Sarah keeps going. She's solo from there. It's day 80 on the trail in northern Sierra. She's camped above tree line in a saddle between two passes, dry camping. The next water is 6 kilometers ahead. The sun is going down. The wind is doing what the wind does at that altitude. When the wind dies, that's when she hears it. Watch what the wind does in this one, because it does something special. It stops entirely. No gusts to a lull like someone closed a window. It's full wind to no wind at all. There's a kind of quiet you only get at an altitude when the full wind stops. Something has gone wrong, and Sarah, 80 days into a 4,000 kilometer trail, knows exactly what that quiet sound is. And that's when the voices come. It's Marcus's voice. He's calling her by her trail name. Her trail name is Possum. Don't ask me why. That's not the story. Possum, hey, I'm down here, the voice says. I'm coming from below the saddle, from the east side, where the tallest slope drops off into the basin. There's no trail down there. There's no reason for anyone to go down there. There's no way people have ever gotten down there from any approach in the last 24 hours that doesn't involve a helicopter bringing you. Sarah doesn't answer the voice. She's doing the math. Marcus is in Portland. Marcus left the trail in Tahoe 2 weeks ago. Marcus has been texting her at every reception window. The last text she got from him was 18 hours ago. He was with his physiotherapist at an appointment in Portland. The voice says, Possum, I'm hurt. Come back. I came back to find you. She doesn't answer. The voice says again, please, please, come down here. Then, and this is the part that ended the story for her, the part that means she was never going to answer, the voice comes from above her. From the ridge. The ridge is 150 meters up near vertical scree wall behind her. To get from the basin where the first call came from to the ridge above her, it's roughly 90 seconds would require something that does not walk like a person. She sits on her bear canister with her back against a rock. She turns her headlamp off and she sits in the dark. The voice keeps coming from a few different directions. All of them are the wrong direction. And here's the part that we cannot stop thinking about. She said as the light died, the mimicry started to degrade. The sounding exactly like Marcus, it used Marcus' cadence, but that's what made it so awful. Now the pitch was sliding and the breath was wrong. By full dark, it was just calling her trail name, Possum, Possum, like a metronome with no song behind it. It just starts to sound like nothing. Then it stopped. The wind comes back and the owls don't. She sits there until first light. She packs. She hikes 6 kilometers to water. She finishes the trail 3 weeks later. She told Marcus about it once on the phone. He didn't believe her. They aren't friends anymore. Story number 1, the trucker story. The voice was his daughter. The lock was a bedroom name used inside the bedroom. Story 2, the hiker's voice was her partner. The lock was a trail name that didn't exist outside of the footpath. Both of them got past the door using something that should have been impossible for them to know. If you're still here, do me a favor, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't. Permanent Underclass on TikTok and on Instagram at the Underclass or at X. Now we're going to do the third story. And I have to be upfront with you, the third one is the worst one I have. This last one, it breaks the lock. This is from a guy that we're going to call Dale. He works fire lookouts in the summer. The lookout he was working in 2019 was the Selway-Bitterroot wilderness in Idaho. If you know what that is, then that is one of the largest continuous roadless areas in the lower 48. About 1.5 million acres, no road, no towns, no service, just trees and river and granite, one of the longest unbroken wildernesses left on the continent. The lookout was 14 by 14, wooden cab on top of steel tower, 40 feet up. You climb a ladder and you get to it. The closest paved road is a 2-day hike from the base. You get supplied by mule train every 2 weeks. Your shift is 14 days on, 4 days off. Dale worked it solo. The job is exactly what it sounds like. You sit in the cab from sunrise to sunset and you watch the horizon for smoke. When you spot smoke, you call it on the radio and you read the bearings for a fire finder map. The dispatcher gets a crew up there, and that's basically his entire job. The rest of the time, you cook on a propane stove, you read books, you listen to the wind, you stare at trees. The people who do this type of work tend to be a specific kind of person. They like silence, they like solitude. They like being alone for 2 weeks at a time, 14 kilometers from another human being. Dale was the second season that he was doing this. He liked all of those things I just mentioned. He had not yet learned the most important thing about the job. The most important thing about the job is what you do when the silence breaks at 3 in the morning. Day 7 of a rotation, about 3 a.m. Dale is asleep on a cot in the cab. The cot is bolted to the wall opposite of the door. The cab has windows on all 4 sides. The windows are open. He sleeps with them open in the summer because the cab gets hot and there's nothing for 200 kilometers that's going to come up and bother him there. He wakes up because he hears a child crying. It's coming from below. Not far below, maybe 15 meters out, in the trees at the base of the steel. A little kid, 5, maybe 6, crying the way that a kid cries when they are scared and they try and they want to find their mother. Real crying, not movie crying. The kind that sounds real wet. Dale sits up and he listens. The crying continues. The kid is calling for mommy. Just the one word over and over and over again, broken up by sobbing. The crying gets closer. It moves to the base of the tower. Dale grabs his radio. He calls dispatch. He tells them, I have a child at the base of my tower. I have nobody registered in this sector. Confirm or deny any missing person report in the Selway-Bitterroot, which is where he's stationed. Dispatch comes back inside of 2 minutes. No reports. No campers registered. Closest party is a backcountry hunter group about 80 kilometers north. All accounted for via satellite. There's no reason on earth for a 5-year-old child to be crying at the base of his tower in the middle of the night at 100 million acres of empty wilderness. Then dispatch says, and Dale repeated this part to us twice, because it matters. Dispatch said, Dale, what's the sound on your end? I can hear it through your mic. So whatever's at the bottom of the ladder, it's not in his head. Then the ladder creaks. Wood and steel. The same creak it would make when he was climbing it, weighing it down, roughly, one rung by one rung, then another by another. The rhythm is not right. The pauses between rungs are too long, like something pretending to know how to climb a ladder. Dale lies down on the foot of the cab, below window level. He does not move. He does not breathe more than he has to. He keeps the radio next to his face, the volume turned all the way down. The crying gets to the trap door, and then the crying stops. There's a pause, a long one, the kind of pause that makes you want to look to confirm if something is over, to break the silence yourself just to know where you stand. But Dale doesn't move. Then a voice. Same child's pitch, but different tone. Soft, now, almost conversational. It says, "I can hear you breathing." Dale doesn't breathe again until first light. The crying does not come back. He hears the ladder creak one more time, going down, then nothing. He climbs out at sunrise. The dirt is dry, but soft enough to hold a footprint. There are no footprints at the base of the tower, no bare feet, no shoes, no animal tracks, nothing. Dale finishes his shift. He didn't sleep again for the rest of the rotation. He didn't take a third season. He told us that the part that broke him wasn't the climbing, wasn't the crying, wasn't even the line through the trapdoor. It was the voice of the child crying for mommy, and Dale doesn't have kids. Dale's never had any kids and never will have kids. Whatever was at the bottom of that ladder didn't know him. It didn't pick the voice of someone he loved. It picked the voice nobody could ignore. Now you've heard a total of 6 stories, 3 from the last time and 3 today. Here's what they all have in common, and I want to say this the way old people would say it, not as proof, not as a case, as a rule. The voice is always something you would respond to. Sometimes it means it's someone you love, your daughter, your brother, your wife, your mother of your child. That voice, if you heard it from outside the tent at 3 a.m, you would never not answer it. Sometimes it's someone with a claim on you, a friend you hiked with for 50 days, a trail partner, someone that you know on the trail, and sometimes, this is the part nobody likes, sometimes it's someone you don't know at all. A child crying at the base of the fire tower in the forest where there are no children. Just a voice you couldn't refuse to investigate. Just a voice that you didn't go check in on. And you will not be able to live without yourself if you didn't. That's the rule. That's the whole rule. It picks a voice you cannot ignore. And then it stands at your door and waits for you to answer it. The Cherokee called it Colonelesky, and the Algonquin people called it the Wendigo. Different cultures, different woods, different centuries, same rule. Don't answer it. Don't ask it what it wants, and don't go looking for it. The thing wins the second you step outside. Every culture that has ever lived in the deep woods on this continent has figured this out. They wrote down their whole story. They taught it to their children. They told it around fires. But we forgot. They didn't. Now, if you've ever been somewhere remote, a campsite, a cabin, a logging road, a fire road in the dark, the side of the yard, your grandmother's place in the country maybe, and you heard something you didn't want to hear and you didn't tell anybody about it afterwards because how is it going to sound? I don't want to seem crazy. I don't want to be the first person to say it back. I don't want to seem crazy. You weren't crazy. You weren't tired. You weren't dehydrated. You weren't hearing things. You heard exactly what you thought you heard. And the reason you don't talk about it is the same reason a Cherokee hunter in 1924 didn't talk about it. The same reason a fire lookout in 2019 didn't talk about it. The same reason that a long-haul trucker on Highway 16 doesn't pull into that pullout anymore. The thing has rules, and the first rule is you don't feed it any more than you have to. Saying its name out loud is feeding it. Repeating what said it is feeding it. Going looking for it is feeding it. You already know the shape of this. You already know the rules. The old people knew. The trucker knew when he turned the key. The hiker knew when she didn't call back. The lookout knew when he didn't open that trap door. If you ever hear it, and most of you won't, but some of you will, you'll know what to do. And if this type of content keeps you up at night, do me a favor, like and subscribe, and follow me at Permanent Underclass on TikTok and Instagram, and at the Underclasser on X. We post stuff there that doesn't always make it to YouTube. Stay out of the woods. Night.